Hey guys, welcome back. Today I'm going to talk to you about pre-shaving, when would be a good time to pre-shave or not, and the benefits and perks of pre-shaving.
Looking pretty good. The same one, a 4 for a blade. It's just a wider one, which I never used to use until probably a little after I started working at Companion. I didn't know they made them, but they're such a lifesaver because they just take off more hair at a time than a regular blade. And now that's pretty much the only thing I'll use.
First, I'll start by shaving around the head, getting the neck and then the legs next. And we aren't doing a perfect job when you pre-shave. You really just want to get the bulk of the hair off. So we will wash and dry the coat after we get the majority of the hair off, and then we will go back in once it's good, nice and dry, and then go over the coat again. The only time I really like to pre-shave a dog is when I'm going to be taking off a lot of hair that I don't want to spend time washing or drying. So it's really just to save time in that aspect. I will skip the pre-shave on a wiry haired dog because I know that that hair is going to take a shorter time to dry. I will also be pre-shaving dogs if they are really matted. It's better to get the matting off before the bath versus bathing them, especially if it's really tight to the skin. If I have an area that is really difficult to get underneath with the blade that I'm using, I'll drop down a blade. So right now I'm using a number 4 wide blade. Most of the time if I'm pre-shaving, it's really going to be with a blade. I don't like to dirty my 30 blades. So typically I'll only pre-shave using a 4 or a shorter blade length.
Yep, Aiden's got a show in Cedar Rapids today. There's like several different like event planners. So, and then they'll like, yeah, so like there will be an event planner.
These guys like a lion tail, which I like a lion tail as well. It keeps them nice and clean and still gives them a little bit of a style instead of just a rat tail.
Get like booked and not have any tables available. So you just gotta call right away and reserve your spot. Some you have to prepay tables for, some you pay once you're there. They're like, most of them are like $50 a table. Yeah. Yeah, until you want to get 2 tables because they have 2 big cases. They can get by with 1 table, but.
And there we have the majority of the bulk off, so I'll go ahead and bathe him. You also want to check in between their toes. A lot of times matting can happen here. These guys get groomed often enough, so a little bit of matting in between his toes isn't a big deal. But for a lot of customers, I always tell them to keep an eye in between their toes. That's where matting can start because it's causing the most friction. And if we don't keep up with grooming or brushing their feet, the matting can just get worse and worse over time. And then that's when you'll get that pelted matting starting at the feet and going up the legs, and to where some cases it's just all over the body. And then there's no option but to be shaved down in a short length. Earlier, there was this spot behind his ear, which is another really common area for matting to begin, where I wasn't able to smoothly get my number 4 blade underneath that. So I left that for last and then went back in with a number 5 blade to get underneath that area. It's going to make the dog more comfortable. Instead of dematting and tugging at that sensitive area behind the ear, I'm just going to shave that area a little shorter. This technique I'm doing with his ears, I'm really wrapping my hand around the base of his ear, covering that ear canal, protecting it from the air blowing straight into his ear. Now I'm using my left hand to feel what areas are still damp. You always want to fluff out the dog with a dryer, even if they're completely dry. He got to have some fun running around while I got his sister washed as well. So he did air dry for a bit, but I still like to go over them with a velocity dryer to really help straighten out their coat a bit so you get a nice even finish. Again, once his hair is clean and dry, now we're going to go back over with that number 4 blade, starting around his head and working our way down. I always work in sections, working around the dog.
No. Hold the itch. What kind of? Well, someone thinks they're gonna come out. No, they're coming yet.
You still got 15, 20 minutes.
Oh,
He does not love his legs being shaved. So right now I'm just trying to figure out an angle and a way of holding him and making him feel secure, that he's not going to pull away as much.
Lucy's not taking her eyes off of that, is she?
Right now they have their eyes on one of my cats, Ponyo. When they don't like their legs to be shaved, there's a lot of different angles and ways you can hold their legs. Right now I'm lifting his other leg so that he has no choice but to leave that back right leg on the table while I finish clipping it. Now I'm holding the point at his elbow to kind of hold that straight so I can get a good angle at the rest of his leg so he can't bend his arm and pull it away. You really want to make sure to be careful around the ears. So I like to flip those up so I can see what I'm doing underneath. And then I'm also going to take his ears shorter today and use a clip comb and skim that clip comb down his ear. You really want to make sure you do this part safely because the tips of his ears can easily get stuck in that clip comb. So I like to hold the ear with my left hand really flat, and then I kind of skim left and right and straight down without applying a lot of pressure. And making sure I know where the clip comb is and where his ear is at all times. There's Ponyo and Ricky's sister Lucy. Now I'm using my 5-in-1 clipper to do the rest of all my clipper work, making sure I get those hairs that grow outside the ear canal and the corners of his eyes, since those grow really fast.
Oh, Ricky.
Did he cut himself?
No, but I might have chopped hair out of him somewhere that shouldn't have.
Oh, that's all right.
I don't think I'll be able to tell.
Lucy's
I think
running
it like
around.
went in here shorter than it.
There's a good example of why it's really important to have a very calm environment. One little distraction can result in an accident or an injury of some kind. A lot of times if a dog sees their parent or hears a loud noise, they can jerk, creating a very unsafe atmosphere. So we like to keep them as calm as possible during the grooming process. Now I'm going to finish my clipper work with his sanitary area and armpits.
Yeah, Lucy's lays nice and flat.
So when I, jeez, you're gonna tear your ACL, shit. So when I cut his, I just pulled it up and cut it like shorter on top.
Mm-hmm.
No, Rick, stop it. I'm gonna shut that door. No, you just lay down. No. You're just being naughty.
She's on a hike.
Now you are.
Holding up his front legs is a nice technique when you can, when it's safe. Sometimes they'll get a little crease around their belly button. So if you can lift the dog up that way and stretch out the skin, ensuring you get all the hair that can crumple up in those areas.
Do that to the cat.
You want to get that kitty?
Yeah, do that. Let me upstairs. I'm gonna chase that cat all over the house. Getting Ricky all upset. You got a dent in your head now, Rick? Erica, shave the top of your head down.
Then using my 5-in-1 clipper on a 40 to get his paw pads done.
Long eyelashes.
Ricky. Hey, stay.
Now I'm going to do a lion tail. I basically do a little flag tail for the little tip at the end. Then I'm going to get all my scissor work done, starting with that flag tail for his lion tail, and then get his feet done
Missed the paw pad, Ricky.
and any sticky outies on his legs. For his ears, since we did a clip comb on them, I like to still get them nice and brushed out. That way when I do the edges, it lays nicely. This job is not for the weak and my face is constantly itchy. and it only gets worse in the winter.
You know, I really need to get better about knowing where the camera's at.
The camera can't see what I'm doing.
Bobby said, oh, I said beautiful to his Christmas tree, and he says, hee, thank you.
Well, it's Alex's Christmas tree too, you know.
Well, he's the one that produced it.
Oh.
You look like a little raccoon when you're all done.
Yeah.
Your ear's shortened by an inch or so.
Ooh. Yeah. Took quite a bit
See
off.
how my finger and my middle finger are holding that part of his ear? I am making sure that I have the hair pressed between those two fingers. I like using thinning shears on that part of the ear. Makes it lay a lot nicer in my opinion, but then on the back side I'll go ahead and use curved scissors or straights, still making sure that my fingers are touching so that I don't accidentally nick the tip of his ear. Now I'll show you how I trim feet. Especially with doodles, I'll always check in between those toes. So I use my pinky and kind of split the fingers apart from underneath the paw pad. And then if there's any matting, I'll trim those out with my scissors. If it's super tight matting though, I will go in with my 5-in-1 clipper and shave out matting in between toes. Then I'll still go in and fluff up the top of the foot and still give them a nice round look, even if I have to get some tangles out from in between the toes. It's also a good way to prevent matting from happening, just to keep the inside of those toes nice and short. Any advice I could give doodle owners would be to purchase a table like this off Amazon. Everyone says it's hard to brush out their dogs and do things with, but when they're on a table in a loop like this, most of the dogs just know the drill. And when they're on a table like this, it kind of helps keep them from running away. And they're fairly cheap on Amazon, and it's good for getting them brushed out. I also recommend getting a little velocity dryer. You can get those on Amazon as well. I want to say for maybe $60, maybe $75, but it's well worth it, especially if you're trying to stretch out grooming appointments. I would highly recommend a slicker brush with long, firm pins, a grooming table for the right size for your dog, and a velocity dryer will help you so much with brushing and preventing matting if you're trying to do any grooming at home. Also, in the winter months, the velocity dryer is nice when you've got a long-haired dog and they come in with snowballs all over them. My mom likes to just plop them up on the table, use the dryer, and dry all those snowballs out of their hair. A lot of customers think that it's nicer to keep their dog's hair longer in the winter. I really don't know if having that much more hair on them necessarily keeps them warmer. A lot of times the hair isn't that thick that we're taking off, but I will say the longer the hair, the longer it's going to take for them to dry off once they have been running out in the snow. So you do want to make sure, if you're worried about them staying warm, to get them dry as quick as possible. A velocity dryer is a great way to do that, but also making sure that they're getting brushed out. When they're running through the snow and not getting brushed out, it just tightens up those curls, creating more matting. And there he is. He's such a cute boy. All right, thanks for watching.